So now comes the panel dialogue and why it is important. Because from the beginning, this is an exchange for our common struggle among these interpeoples action group. Then suggested by Holly and among our discussion, we think it is meaningful and also valuable to share with you people and also go beyond our internal discussion. But still, such kind of mutual recognition for mutual understanding and mutual learning for our possible solidarity action, is very important. So now we invite all the presenters, and first you can say something that you have not yet or have no time to express in your presentation, and or based we can ask a question to each other for further understanding of our situation and context, and also to get inspiration, revelation, or encouragement, to our own situation and context, and seeking to build up the learning network for this indigenous decolonization and the sustainable self-determination, and the future for an alliance or coalition of all these interpeoples group in action. So please, I think there is a question to Aslak from Sámi about how the Sámi people can have a unified action across nation, across the 4 nations or 3 nations of the Scandinavia and the Russian scored peninsula. I think this is starting early from the Sámi parliament, and maybe in each country, and then join a unified one, maybe in the EU or something. Aslak, have you any comments about it?
Yes. I briefly answered in the chat, but I can just say a few words. So that's definitely a challenge for the Sámi, that we live in 4 different nation states. So that means that often our efforts are divided, like we have to work towards these 4 different governments. But also there is a lot of collaboration. Such as myself, I am in the Sámi Council, which is a non-governmental organization, and we have members in all of the 4 countries. So that is at the very basis of our work, that we work as one people, and we will not let the country borders divide us. But also there are different Sámi parliaments in each of the countries, and they have their own collaborative body, but it's called the Sámi Parliamentarian Council. But nevertheless, I would say that most of the efforts of the Sámi parliaments, they are within the nation state. So definitely there is a lot to improve with the collaboration of the Sámi as one nation, because I think it's an interesting thing to think about, that we have been talking about self-determination, and that is a right that belongs to a people, so it does not belong to a part of the people. So in that sense, Sámi as a nation have the right to self-determination, and not just the Sámi in one country. So I think that brings a lot of demand to improve this this cross-country cooperation regarding our right to self-determination. But yeah, I think I'll cut my answer there.
Thank you, Aslak. You know, I'm keen to follow up it, and you do a wonderful job. That this is so difficult for peoples cross country to do anything, because even when there is border, they are separate. They cannot have a limited communication or something. But you are doing it, and we are, because when I'm talking about inclusive new nation building, because inter-people is not a tool, it's another, say another nation, unified nation, nation state or something. You will coexist with all these countries, but how? And how to, yeah, regain or or implement the rights of the people across the boundary, and these people can have a free communication, transportation between them, not only as a Finnish or a Swedish or somebody, but as indigenous Sámi people. And yeah, we are keen to learn it, keen to see the development. But my big concern, and also I just learned from you, the real worry is about the great impact of climate change now happen in the circumpolar node, and also it have most influence to the Sámi people too, because as I would say that because we are embedded and connected to the interspecies habitat, and if by climate change it is change all over, and then that's almost beyond our knowledge and beyond our, or does it is beyond our knowledge or our wisdom to handle it? Or do you have maybe something from your tradition or from your mythology that you also can handling such radical change that is emerging? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think that was a bunch of questions. I'll try to capture some of them. And so what comes to the Sámi staying as a distinct nation and between this the pressure of the four nation states, then I think that's something we are very used to doing, because yeah, obviously we would not be here unless we would have been keeping our traditions and our languages, our cultures, which in a way means resisting the assimilation of the states. So I think that has been I would say lately a more conscious effort to maintain our culture and practices, but also one aspect of it is geography. Like often the Sámi communities, they are in different places than the settler communities, and let's say in many areas the reindeer herding families and communities, they have been able to maintain their traditions and languages the best, and that mean part of that is because they are often by themselves. Let's say they are in the tundra or in the summer grazing lands and so on. So I think geography is one reason why we have maintained our traditions. And it was said in the early 1900s about this region, Otsejohka, where I'm from, that it was believed that due to geography we will maintain ourselves as a as a distinct people, because it is a very long distance to the next, let's say, Finnish village, or a city is 500 kilometers away. So we are in that sense protected by geography. But of course, nowadays things are very different with good road networks going all over. But what comes to climate change, then that's of course a very new thing, in the sense that we cannot just look back and find some solutions from there, because this kind of changes have never been faced before. And of course, because the Arctic is changing really fast now, the ecosystems are changing. There are changes in the species that we traditionally use. So while the environment is changing, and as we see ourselves as part of the environment, and that of course means that we also have to change. That is of course linked to the issue that I was discussing, that we are not in a position to make the decisions on how to adapt to these changes. So even if we have these self-governance institutions such as the Sámi parliaments, and we have local organizations, but they only have advisory roles. So often, or the decisions on how to use the fishing areas or the territories in general, they are made by centralized state authorities. So we cannot decide how to adapt. But that being said, we are quite used to also working around the official ways. So even if something is not officially decided, this is how we do it, and in practice it can actually work. Yeah, I would say that we are very used to adapting, because the Sámi people, we have faced a lot of changes throughout history, because other nations have come to our territories, and we have lost our areas, parts of them. So we have had to adapt our ways of living. So I think from that point of view, we are very used to change. So, but this is of course very different scale of change that we are facing, because the very environment is changing. So yeah, of course we don't have the answers yet, but yeah, I would think that we have some tools for adaptation.
Surely, thank you. No answer, no solution, but no answer, but we still have some discussion. And then from Hiroshi, now you have a new Sámi friends. I know that you have friends in Norway or something. Have you any question to our new friend, or some exchange you want to do?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been to Rovaniemi many times in Finland, and at first I met with Elina Heranda-Lambo, who now lives in Utsjoki, and I learned a lot from her to start studying Indigenous issues. So and also I've been closely working with Sámi people living in Tärnaby, Sweden, and they are not affiliated with the so-called Sámi B. So they have no indigenous rights as some people. So I published I published an article with two Sámi activists, such as Marie Persson. Do you know Marie Persson? She is a member of the Sámi Parliament in Sweden, and also Sakka Stanberg, who has been involved in the revitalization of the South Sámi language in Tanabe. So I'm very happy to see, to listen to your presentation, and yeah, and I wanted to know more about salmon fishing in your territory. Can you briefly tell us about it?
Yes, sure, I can. I can say that I have also had the pleasure of visiting Ainu land or Hokkaido twice. Last time was a couple of years ago, before the pandemic. And one of the common issues that I found was exactly the salmon, because that is something that is very important both for the Sámi and the Ainu. So yeah, this region where I'm from, it's in the Decolonization River Valley, and Decolonization is one of the largest Atlantic salmon rivers in the world. And I would say that salmon is the reason why people have inhabited this area in the first place. There have been a lot of changes on the economic importance of salmon over time. But I would say that up until this Norwegian farmed salmon industry grew exponentially, then until that point, salmon was economically also the very cornerstone of our communities. But ever since, even if the economic importance is not direct, then there is a lot of people who work with tourism related to salmon fishing, and I myself, I'm a so-called traditional salmon fisherman, so I'm fishing with the traditional net fishing methods. So for me, it's a big part of my diet, and also it's something that I fish not only for my family, but also to share with others or exchange with the friends to get some, let's say, reindeer meat. I give salmon and so on. So there is still some traditional economic importance also. But culturally, it's very important that I've been able to go to the river with my father and learn the fishing methods, learn the places, learn how the river behaves in different water levels, how the salmon behaves, and so on. So I've been doing that my whole life, and as I briefly mentioned in the end of my presentation, this year is the first time ever that there is actually a complete ban on salmon fishing, and that comes after in 2017 there was strong restrictions put into place on salmon fishing. So roughly I could say that 80% of the traditional Sámi fishing rights were cut off, while this fishing of tourists was not restricted as much. But ever since the situation has gotten worse, so we've had a couple of very bad salmon years, so very low numbers of Atlantic salmon have been coming to the river. So it has been necessary to restrict the fishing, even though if it's not overfishing that is causing the rapid decline in the salmon stocks, it has to be changes that happen in the ocean, or the yeah, something happens to the salmon juvenile between when they leave the river and they are not returning in the same numbers. So that's linked to the big changes happening in the Barents Sea. And just to mention one very big change that we have experienced this year is now that there is the fishing ban, salmon fishing ban, then there is also record numbers of this invasive species. We have Pacific salmon, which is basically taking over the river now. So based on the current estimates, there have been 40,000 Pacific salmon coming to the rivers, and to an extent they are competing over the same spawning areas and the same food. Like the juveniles are competing over the same food as the Atlantic salmon. So that is one big change that we are currently seeing, because there are more Pacific salmon than Atlantic salmon, and I believe that is also linked to the climate change. This Pacific salmon, it has a very fast life cycle. It comes back already in 2 years. Like the ones that spawn now, they will be back fully grown in 2 years. So that's something that is changing rapidly. And as I was mentioning, that as our environments change, then we have to adapt. So we'll have to adapt to having this new species as the dominant species of our river. And just a final note on that point there. You were referring to this salmon fishing case where a man was fishing illegally and was not prosecuted, as I took it. And this is also something that we have been doing here in Sápmi. Like, people have been fishing in ways that are deemed illegal, and they have been actually reporting themselves to the police, and there are some ongoing court cases on these issues, which are dealing with our rights to our home rivers and the salmon. So yeah, these are some developments recently.
Yeah, great to hear your exchange. And because we are over time, so I have been mentioned that one of our friend have a question, so I will mix our two sessions. So I will answer first the question from our friend Viole Veiko. Yeah, I hope you are still here. He asked us, as many indigenous peoples have not followed the motto of the state is a way to organize people, what kind of alternative to the motto of the state would indigenous people now demand as ways of self-determination, self-determining their life heritages instead of organizing themselves to states? And how should such their habitats of people's life heritages or their territories of life be related to the existing states? I think maybe all of us can give a little answer to this question. For me, first, I have mentioned that the interpeople self-determination is still evolving beyond the state. First, the pluralistic knowledge and the legal framework. So this would go beyond our traditional motto of a state or nation state or even the government. So this is concerning how the indigenous people in the modern time with its living tradition of adaptation and innovation. What is the way of our self-government? Our self-government for our people, for our environment, for what I did, for our self-government to serve, to support, to service the interspecies habitats with the all beings around us. How? And also how to connect or relate to the existing if it does not disappear. And if we are not cut off and to become another state by war or by something. I think this is the same question to the Ainu people in Hokkaido and to the Sámi people in the Scandinavia, and maybe also concerning to the current people in Myanmar. For me, the connection not only in political, but also what I've mentioned about the how to devise a minimalist supporting infrastructure to our network of territory of life, and how we're developing or negotiating or coordinating a free association relationship with the state, and with so many things is weaving together, and with the overlapping of a governance system. Yeah, I think yeah, we is thinking about it and working very hard and very slow to think through it. But the first important thing I would like to say is, if there does not a paradigm shift and a power transition to evolving the pluralistic knowledge and the legal framework to what we are thinking about or we are envisioning. So please, Paul, and then Hiroshi and Aslak, we set this our last question, and then I will invite the concluding remark by our global coordinator, Holly. Yeah, please, Paul, first.
You may answer to the question.
Yeah, about if you are going to create a current state, or maybe you have talking about it, and also you are talking to me about the federalism or something. But I have mentioned that the most important is what is any different of the interpeople self-government with the current modern state government in any level.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger political process is to have a recognized current state, like a current state where current people directly elect the governments. That is the big political goal. But even within that, because as I said, we current indigenous people, we also have different groups, different tribes, also what you call it subgroups. So and it depends on our culture, our traditions. We should be able to also have our right to govern our territory. And that's why the Selwyn Peace Party is an example that how we wanted to organize ourselves. And that is we trying to show as an example, as a model, as an alternative model. If you think in terms of protected area, or you know, like a national park or something like that. So this model is really based on the indigenous people way of organizing themselves. As I said, we have core system, our customary or traditional land governance systems, integrating social, culture, environment, you know, together. So, and we have also the the leaders, how you know they kind of assign with different tasks and so on. And then when we look at a bigger scale or a landscape view, we trying to bring together different core and forms a larger area. Then we have to modernize it a bit to really bring the representative from each god to the governing body, right? So it is evolving, as I said. It is of course the essence is we based on traditional governance also, but we also have to find also new ways to be able to organize and make our governance robust now in this time of changing circumstances, you know, economically, politically, right? Yeah, so I think indigenous people have already many models and many alternatives already around the world. So it is the duty of the government to learn from indigenous people and support them. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say. And for us indigenous people, we also have to also show evidence that we have the system in place. And we, as I said, the really important is to sustain our territory of life, our territory of life, so that we can argue against the people who oppose our ideas or our initiative. Right? We need to show how we govern our territory. We need to show I mean, if we use the development language like indicators, you know, you have to show the how you improve the biodiversity in our territories, and so on, so on. You know, so this kind of thing we have to also learn from outside and also get the external support from the like-minded conservation groups. Yeah. So yeah, that's been we've been doing. It's also already now, and we have more what do you call it, things to do, because we need to go deeper in each customary territory to what do you call it, start doing the land use planning. And then at a bigger landscape level, we need to also sit together and then develop our kind of master plan to how do we maintain our healthy relationship with our territories by putting together our land use plan, like Wala corridor. We can talk about watershed management, and then other area where we identify as the place to do restoration, right? So this is for the selling piece part. We have already 2 years plan already that we want to start, but because of the COVID restriction, we have to postpone it now. So when we have that finished, and that we can definitely show to the government and to the world that, you know, we also have a plan to develop our territory of life, you know. But I don't want to use a lot of development terms like sustainable development. So that's why I use the terms healthy relationship plan, like as a way of you know, to replace the term sustainable development plan. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And Hiroshi, I would like to learn your vision about the implementation, because we meant about implementation of the full implementation of the rights of indigenous people,
so
including the self-determination of other people.
Thank you for
so difficult that in Hokkaido there is a million of settled Japanese, and they are dominating politically, economically, And yeah, what will be your vision?
Fugu, thank you for asking me a question about the Ainu. But unfortunately, my interconnection is not good. So can I ask Eleanor to give her comments on the question? Eleanor.
Yeah, sure. So I think that for the Ainu, because of the recognition is so recent, like I don't think they are at the point where they're trying really to. There is ideas about how to establish a kind of alternatives to the state. I think most initiatives currently take place at the local level, at the community level. But as I said, because a lot of achievements for the Ainu have come through legal pressure, international pressure. One of the demand of the Ainu in the Ainu new law that they developed was quota in the national diets, and because even at the local level there is no political acknowledgement of the Ainu or specificity, but I think that maybe with the new legal recognition, these are things that can be envisaged in the short term. But I would say that for Japan, I think it's not at the same speed as probably other nations, but yeah, I think I would just conclude by, in theory, there is a political scientist called Glenn Coulter, who also is in the same process of promoting indigenous resurgence and turn towards initiatives that are not involving the state. And for him, he says indigenous communities should try really to build relations at the community level, but also not seek recognition from the state, but seek recognition from other indigenous communities around the world. And I think that's a way of looking at it. At the same time, I feel that, because Japan also and a lot of indigenous nations depend on international legal instruments, and at the international level, the state is the main actor through which we can achieve things. I think this comes in two ways. First, I think we should engage with the state, because this is how we can achieve things at the international level. But local initiatives and recognition from indigenous people outside of the state apparatus should also be pursued. So I think it's there's two ways of looking at it, and these two things should be done in parallel. And yeah, so that's how I would answer the question.
Yeah, thank you. And about I know I also have a personally one question. So maybe a comment by Hiroshi. What is your thoughts about the Upopoi Park? And the now under the bigger foundation, and also I think this is matched by the Hokkaido Ainu Association, and they have a lot of language and cultural programs, and maybe also budget. But now they say little things about what you mentioned, the fishing right, the land tenure, or the other things.
So you're asking about Upopoi?
Yeah.
Okay. So from my perspective, as an expert of indigenous policy, it is a symbol of colonization. There are three main reasons. One is referred to the decision-making process of the Ainu Policy Promotion Act, which was enacted 2 years ago. And the others are related to its contents. So I have closely investigated into the minutes of the meetings on draft to draft the Ainu policy promotion act, and I came to know that the Japanese government took an initiative in the decision-making process. Some Ainu from the Ainu Association of Hokkaido, the largest Ainu organization, were invited to join those meetings, while other Ainu associations, including Karafto, Sakhalin in Russia, Karafto Ainu Association, Monbetsu Ainu Association, and Ainu Women's Association were totally excluded from the decision-making process. And so in terms of content, I would say that the Ainu promotion, Ainu Policy Promotion Act highlights the management of amusement park for Ainu culture named Upopoi, and the initiatives of local municipalities in promoting Ainu culture instead of the Ainu themselves. So no self-determination has been guaranteed in promoting Ainu culture. And Upopoi has caused, additionally, Upopoi has caused the Ainu society to lose its balance by employing talented Ainu youth from other areas, such as Akan, Nibutani, Sapporo, and others. Upopoi is located in Shiraoi in Hokkaido. It used to be a small village, like other Ainu communities, but it is bigger and bigger. And so in other words, the Ainu society is centralized with the emergence of Upopoi. And Upopoi accelerates the commodification of Ainu culture by connecting Ainu culture to tourism. Yeah, so yeah, so I'm very critical
yeah.
Of Upopoi, and I've been very closely working with Ainu elder activists who have been criticized Upopoi. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Can you understand me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I read your article about it because you from 2009 or something. Because you are very critical, very shrewd, and that's why I contact with you.
Thank you.
You know that yeah, now you're maybe the minority, but yeah, everything is changed by the minority.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Aslak, would you please add a little? We have discussed a little about it. Yeah, you also mentioned of the cross-boundary, the unified Sámi nation, and you have a very beautiful flag and cross-boundary. But how we can imagine if we have such a, and also you already have one such kind of cross-boundary Sámi nation and parliament, and what is the relationship in the future? We are developing to each country, and also maybe and also maybe through the EU or something. Anything very progressive or very creative from your side? What is you have a plan or visionary action about it? Yeah, this will be our last comment, please.
Okay, yes, thank you for the question. And as I showed you in the beginning of my presentation, this map of the traditional Sámi territory, so that is actually an area that is larger than Germany. And while Sámi are about 100,000 in numbers, and we are minority in most of the regions where we live, then that of course brings its own challenges to the structures regarding governance and rights. So as I see it, then we will continue improving our relationship with the respective nation states. And as I see it, that it's important to strengthen not only the national governance bodies, the Sámi parliaments, and their decision-making power over issues related to our livelihoods and territories, then it's also very important to strengthen the local level and bring this local level self-governance and to consider what are the historical rights of the Sámi villages and how to secure them in today's society, where in many areas Sámi are a minority, but still they need to have their rights to their territories and their traditional resources. So definitely strengthening the local governance structures and local rights is important, and then I would start building up from there, that through strengthening the local level, then these local level bodies could then contribute to the national level, and there could be whether it's the Sámi parliament or what form it is in the future, that would be like a joint body where this Sámi local autonomies or Sámi Siidas, as I was speaking about the Siida, the village as a governance structure, then they could have their collaborative bodies. What comes to the representation on the EU level, then that has been something that has been discussed in the Sámi society for a number of years, and we are currently working on some Sámi EU projects, and there are plans on having some kind of Sámi representation in Brussels. Currently that hasn't been taking any significant steps forward, but at least it is an ongoing discussion, and we are in the process of strengthening our relationship towards the EU as well.
Thank you very much. And for your final comments.